And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show, Wednesday, March 4th. 6 games on the docket for today, just 4 on the main slate for DraftKings and FanDuel. So we are not going to have as much to talk about as we should. This could have been a fantastic slate if it kept both games, but unfortunately it did not. But that is okay. We're going to be fine. We're going to break down this 4-gamer. It's got enough late swap opportunities that we could still have a good time. I got to move my camera a notch. There we go. So, now that we're here, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Whoo! Interesting slate yesterday. Some of the very weird defensive performances for some of these guys. Big old stock day out of Bam Adebayo. Some busts out there that I know people are going to be unhappy with. Mike in chat says, felt better than a FanDuel min cash going into lock with Harden, Paolo, Jalen Williams with a Y, Wemby, and no other pivot. I like to get the extra 100 from Isaiah Joe to Wiggins. Woof. Yuck. Yeah, that sucks. Hey, Josh, probably a stupid question. If I have the data hub in a tab during late swap, is there an easy way to just have the remaining teams on the slate on it? No. I mean, no, there's not. Unfortunately, no, there's not. Yeah, it doesn't appear that there is. We could, that's something I'll think about. Realistically, we should be able to get some sort of indicator there. Winning lineup last night in the main. Josh Giddey, Anthony Edwards, who goes from probably not playing to being the best play of the day. Asar Thompson, Jalen Williams with a Y, who smashed. Evan Mobley, who's a name that we undoubtedly didn't speak yesterday. Cason Wallace, obviously, is chalk. Aaron Wiggins, and then Jared McCain. Did I get enough out of my nuke last night? No. Suggs was great on the defensive end. Highest lineup finish with Jalen Suggs ended up being 12th. But we here. It's a weird day. I mean, some of these names are just silly. Wemby was, yeah. I'll say this much. I feel pretty good about my Tyrese Maxey take from yesterday. That was not the day for Tyrese Maxey. I opened up the box score app, and I think it was like 96-66 or something equally as shitty. These games are crazy. Let's talk about today's games, shall we? So we've got 4 games on the main. 7 o'clock, 2 7:30s, and an 8. There is also a 9:30 Hawks-Bucks game and a 10:30 Pacers-Clippers game. Can't say that I'm upset that I don't have either one of those, but, they are out there for today. Oklahoma City Thunder in the opener, taking on the New York Knicks. Knicks are 4.5-point dogs, 221 total. And we can't really talk about it right now. Both teams on a back-to-back. Thunder, no injury report. Knicks, no injury report. We'll talk through some hypotheticals as we go. 7:30 start. Charlotte Hornets, Boston Celtics. Yo, this game's sick. This game's really fun. Boston minus 6.5 at home, 212 total. But fun offense versus fun offense. Hopefully we get these guys at largely full strength. Boston is. We've got their injury report. Nobody out other than Tatum. Hornets, we don't have yet. We shall get that in a bit. 7:30 start here, Philly and Utah. This one's not going to be a good time. Now, Utah, the dudes that are out are just the guys that are hurt. Triple J, Nurk, Markkanen, Vince Williams, Walker Kessler. Philly, on a back-to-back from yesterday, probably sitting someone. We're not going to see Embiid or Paul George or anything here. But this could be a bit of a mess. And then, final game, solo endeavor at the 8 o'clock start. Grizzlies 8.5-point dogs at home. 237 total for Memphis and Portland. No Dame, no Shaden Sharp. Q-tag Denny, Q-tag Chris Murray will matter. No injury report for the Grizzlies will matter. Also, keep an eye on the Grizzlies for signing people. As best I can tell right now, Ryan Rupert is no longer under contract. His 10-day expired. If they signed him last night, I didn't see it yet. They could also just sign somebody else. So their roster might look a little different today. We'll have to wait that one out a bit. But Ryan Rupert signed his 10-day on February 22nd. So that is no longer a valid contract. Doesn't mean it can't be by the end of today. It just means that it isn't right now. Ooh, let's see it. I define artist. Do we have the and one in here? We do. Finished 23rd with Wemby. I'm assuming you're IDA 32. Which did have a unique lineup. Oddly enough, you did chop with 4 people, which is crazy. Nope. 6 people? You'd have been choppy big time here. You actually chopped this with our boy Eric Lindquist, I believe. No, those are different lineups, actually, but both have Wemby. Let's see here. Lineups with Wembanyama. You would have finished 1, 2, 3. You would have finished tied for 4th if Victor Wembanyama scored some additional points. So, I mean, feel good. You were beat one way or the other. Could have felt a lot worse. You don't want to be the number one line. You don't want to be the guy that finished 3rd with Wemby here. That one is the kick in the ding dong. So that could have been a lot worse. Funny that you chopped with 3 other lineups. 2 of those lineups are duped to each other. And then the other one in that lineup where you all scored 314 and a quarter, you had the same score as our boy Eric Lindquist. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Probably time to start talking about what this slate looks like for today. 4 games. We're going to have some extremes. And as you can see on the screen right now, we do have those extremes. Now, these are all going to move around a bit, especially the Memphis pieces, because they might end up with an extra guy that respreads out it takes 3-4 minutes off of everybody. But we're going to be getting a bunch of value from Memphis in some way, it seems. Right now, it's Walter Clayton and Cam Spencer. TBD when we actually figure out who's playing for Memphis. They had a bunch of guys on queues yesterday. Have to assume, you're not going to see Ty Jerome, but I don't know how else the rest of this is going to break. We just know that we're going to get a lot of Memphis. The one thing we do know out of the gate is that we're paying up for Tyrese Maxey. $10,300, 70% owned right now. Oof. And then, which is just a massive number. But 4-game slate, matchup against Utah. Shea ahead of him in price, but he gets the Knicks. Certainly going to play way less minutes than Tyrese Maxey, but Shea's getting 20% ownership. Jaylen Brown against Charlotte, much lower game environment. Not going to play as much as Maxey on average. $500 cheaper, great positionality. Half the ownership. We can talk about Jaylen Brown in a bit. And then if you go down any further, you're either at Brunson, unowned, LaMelo, unowned, Chet, unowned, minimal ownership to Cat or Denny. So realistically, you really are funneling straight to the top, and you're probably coin flipping something in the SGA, Maxey, Jaylen Brown trio. Now, while I didn't love Tyrese Maxey yesterday, and a 70 is, and whatever that ownership ends up being, chalk Tyrese Maxey today doesn't feel the same as it did yesterday for me. Much more interested. On the surface, Jaylen Brown looks like the dude I want the most. We'll dig into that in a bit. Here's what we'll do, because I didn't get a chance to say this yesterday because it wasn't live, but now it is. If you check out the analytics dropdown, stochastic.com, let me pull this screen down a bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. See that analytics tab at the top? For the past couple weeks, it's had the NBA rotations tool in it, which is the popcorn machine knockoff that I built. Wow, we went live yesterday, folks. NBA rates in the analytics tool. This is your NBA Wowie replacement. It is now live on stochastic.com, and we could talk about it. I've been waiting for this to get up here for a bit now. I'm excited that we have another resource for everybody. So, let's take a look at these Philadelphia 76ers, shall we? And what we want to do is this one. I'm going to take Joel Embiid and Paul George. And we're going to say that those guys just didn't play in games. Not necessarily that this is off for Maxey. This is games where those two dudes just didn't play. I think that's a much better cross section here. And we have plenty of sample size for these guys not playing in games. And I think this will help to talk about this stuff a little bit more. Like, there's been enough games for Maxey to have played 704 minutes with Embiid and Paul George not active. That's a very real sample size for what we have here. And if we look at this from a per 100 possessions basis so that we can, do some comparisons, for the entire year, Tyrese Maxey is a 1.31 fantasy point per minute guy. In these games without Paul George and Embiid, it's 1.23. He's actually performed worse. The scoring stays the same. The rebounds go down. The assists go down. The steals go down. The blocks go down. And the reason scoring stays the same is because the shots go up, but he shoots way worse. Do you realize how many more shots you have to take to keep your scoring the same, but shoot 4 percentage points lower in true shooting? Maxey takes 2 additional twos per 100 possessions when those guys are off. But his 2-point percentage drops by 4.5 percentage points. His 3-point percentage drops by 3.5 percentage points. He's a very different player out there when he's just out there with a bunch of slop. Anthony, I'm not going to be much help here. What are my thoughts on unders for Towns and Brunson? I don't have them. I'll look at the props tool for you. That's the best that I can do, but I don't have those kind of thoughts. Brunson under 5.5 assists is popping in our projections. If I split this 50-50 on the market. No, it's not that it's too early. It's that I don't think about it like that. My thought process isn't I should find unders for specific players. So the best that I can do is just go to them and be like, yeah, this is what's here. So Brunson The only under on the stochastic props tool, which you guys can subscribe to by clicking the link in the description of this video if you are on the hunt for these sorts of unders. The only one that has any sort of real value is under 5.5 assists at Bet365. On the Towns side, got a little bit of value on under 12.5 boards on Onyx odds. That line also exists at DraftKings, Score, a little bit worse on FanDuel. Under 14.5 rebounds plus assists, also on Onyx odds for Towns. And then the only other one would be like under 2.5 assists at Bet365. But in terms of unders for these guys, there does not appear to be a ton of value out there on that Knicks end. Did I really go? Oh, wrong tab. I was like, did I really leave that tab? But I did. Just not the way that I thought I did. So yeah, this makes the whole Philly situation so much different when you look at Maxey. Good morning, Jay Boogie. Loving the Maxey data, as always, hoping for FanDuel data if you can. It's the same thing. Do you, like for the data hub, I'll bounce to it at some point in time. But if we're talking about looking at it in the rates tool, it's the same data. Appreciate the super chats. Yeah, we'll get to the FanDuel data. We'll outline the FanDuel data in a sec. I wanted to walk through this rates tool now that it's up finally. So we got a lot of different things that we could look at in this tool if you want to dig in to guys being on off. Now, I've had this on this show before when it was still just something that I built for myself on my own app. Now that it's live, it's basically the exact same thing. You can cycle through multiple different filter sets. You can set it whether guys are on, off, they started, they came off the bench, or they played at all. Greater than, equal, less than. You can get any combination you're looking for, and you can do more than one if you want. Now, we have this for those guys being off the floor right now. And we can break down all of the data that comes along with this information. The first view you see is just simply the stochastic view. It's the main stats you would look at generically. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, nothing too crazy. There's also a really fun props view, which, if you remember in the stochastic props tool, you could edit player rates. So you can change Maxey's minutes, his points per minute, his rebounds per minute, his assists per minute, his threes per minute. That's what you see on this screen. Well, if you want to look at all of these rates on a per minute basis, if you click on per 36 and then click it again, all of these rates are now per minute rates. So if I pull up the props tool, just to show you guys what I mean, let's use somebody from, let's just use Tyrese Maxey as the example. Let's say you want to edit these rates. You can change minutes, points per minute, rebounds per minute, assists per minute, threes per minute. We could say right now, in our projections, we have Tyrese Maxey around 0.95 points per minute. If we go back to the rates tool, we can see that he's scored 0.75 points per minute. Now, these are tinier samples. You don't want to just one-to-one stuff like this. That's not going to help you in any way. That's going to become a problem. But you do want to pay attention to this data and think about how these samples work for you. You see the rebounding rate go down 0.02 for Maxey. You see the assist rate go down 0.02 for Maxey. You see some other guys VJ Edgecombe's scoring goes up. Kelly Oubre's scoring goes up. Quentin Grimes' scoring goes up. That all makes sense. It's the Maxey piece that seems weirder. But you can dig into this prop data if you want. And then if you wanted to get into regular old stats, that's simple too. There's a shooting tab that breaks down the classic shooting stuff. There's a shot zone tab. Lets you know how these guys are doing from the rim, the mid-range, corner threes, above the break threes. So you can break down all the different shot types for these guys. Full rebounding breakdown based on how they rebound in different situations. Defensive stats, obviously, like steals, blocks, fouls drawn. Playmaking stats, your assists, your turnovers. No potential assists. That data isn't in here the way you would want it to be, but we could get there. What I think is probably the most fun for you guys, if you really are the type of person to want to screw around in here, the custom tab. If you see when you click on custom, there's a little gear icon right here. You can order these columns however you want, and you can choose whichever particular view you're looking for this data. You want 3-point attempts and 3-point percentage and your playmaking data and your DraftKings fan. Like, you can build this out to be whatever you want. Order the columns however you want, and this will be a customized view for you. This is a fun one if you really just want to see a specific thing for yourself on a regular basis. And then finally, if you just want to copy this data, it's very simple. This little clipboard icon will just copy whatever you see in the table you're looking at. So if you're trying to get it out to Excel or something, it's one click away. Mohammed, sort of, it's the copy button's going to get you there faster. That'll get you there immediately. But I've been waiting on this for a while, because this is the type of thing I like to do in the mornings to dig into rates, take a look at different spots. Now that we have this live on the site, we can get this strategy show back to like what it typically is supposed to be, which is deep diving. But when it comes to Tyrese Maxey today, rates up, rates down, don't care. That's what happens when you get to face the Utah Jazz. No problem at all going to Maxey in this spot in comparison to what we had yesterday. The SGA one will probably be kind of interesting to talk about as the day goes on. I think Jaylen Brown just naturally looks interesting because of his position. Guard forward eligibility on a day like today is huge. The Maxey Shea thing is interesting because they're basically the same price. They're both point guard only. It'll be very difficult for them both to be in the winning lineup. So realistically, Maxey and Shea is like a matchup to find out if you have a chance to begin with. If you get that question wrong, you're cooked from the jump. You kind of need to get Shea versus Maxey correct. And right now, based on the ownership, Shea and or Maxey are in 93% of lineups. You're picking one of them kind of by default. Clearly, Maxey's going to be in the optimal. Along with those Grizzlies dudes. Grimes, Clayton, Jaylen Brown, Trendon Watford, Klingon, Maxey, Jemai Mashak, and Cam Spencer. Now, we can random number generate these Memphis guys, but the Philly stuff looks just about right. Locke Walker. Jabari Walker? Jabari Walker is the only Walker that's going to play today. I would not recommend that. Unless I'm missing something. And I'm not. Yeah, I don't know about that one. think I'm going to go ahead and not do that. Unless I'm missing something. And I'm not. The old one game sample from last night? Yeah. It happens. It happens. It would be cool if you were able to like get historical fantasy points and use them in that same day, but I don't think it's how it works. Just guessing though. Oh, my coffee's not hot anymore. That's annoying. That's very annoying. All right, let's talk through these individual games just for a sec. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. So, Thunder Knicks is your opener. And obviously, the Thunder are going to be a little weird today. All right. Thunder, Knicks, or there we go. Thunder are going to be a little weird today because we just don't know who's going to be available just yet. Because they're just permanently live to like have a couple additional dudes out. So like, don't get too married to some of these dudes' minutes because it could obviously move around. Shea is actually getting the most ownership here in this game. And then it's only Towns and Josh Hart, after which it falls off a cliff. So think about that for a second. Now, I get it. It's the first game. It does limit you slightly. But on a 4-game slate, outside of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at 20, we only have 2 other dudes at 10. This game feels underrepresented to start the day. The problem is I don't know where you go. Like, you're not going to see too many times. This is probably the craziest one. You're not going to see this all that frequently. This is a 4-game slate, and Jalen Brunson's 1.5% owned. And like, I don't even think that's wrong. I don't even look at him and think there's a pay up to be contrarian option there. He's got a 14% boom score. That's not good. But realistically, this OKC team can create some value depending on how it breaks. There's not enough MPEs in this game. That would be helpful. But there is a very small amount of interest in this game. Clearly the least amount of any game. And yeah, it does limit your flexibility a hair. But we only have locks at 7, 7:30, and 8. It can only screw you up so much to get to this game. And while I don't love the pricing on a lot of these guys, I do feel like it's mildly underrepresented for what today is. The problem is I just don't know what the direction is. The problem here when you get these like real teams that are playing, like you can justify obviously Shea, Towns, Hart, but Hartenstein, Chet, OG, Bridges, Cason Wallace, Brunson, Dort. And then you can start having conversations about like your Isaiah Joes, your Jose Alvarados, your Jared McCains. There's a lot going on here. I don't know how you pick a guy out of that list. Hartenstein, Chet, OG, Bridges, Wallace, Brunson, Dort, Alvarado, Joe. Like that section to me in this game is probably the most interesting section of this slate. I think, at least. I think that's the spot where you get different. I think this game is the spot where you get different. If there's going to be this little amount of ownership on two teams that are desperately trying to win this game, I think that's where we want to be. You don't have to take a huge stand to do it, but I do think that's where you want to be. If Ariel Huckporty were a slightly better per minute dude, we would be having a real conversation about him today. But he's not, so we're not. But he's the flat 3K on today's slate. There is a universe where that's interesting if he isn't such a shitty per minute dude. But unfortunately, he is a shitty per minute dude. I gotta feel like it's something in that Bridges and Anunoby duo. One of those two guys feel better than a 5%er. I lean Anunoby just because I think he's a better basketball player, but I mean, our data has these guys as identical. Yeah, by all accounts, the same projection, ownership, optimal boom relative to salary. Pippen Jr. just picked up a questionable tag since I went live. The whole damn team's questionable. Zach Edey had ankle surgery yesterday? That seems like the wrong timing. Why didn't that happen at a different time? That's weird. Let's see. I'm trying to find an angle here. Einsteinium, I'm not trying to be mean here when I ask this question, but are you only trying to name guys that aren't going to play today? Because the last two guys you've named are guys that are not going to... We have them projected for 0 minutes. How many different dudes do you want to roster today that aren't in rotations? Because we're up to 2 now in... Let's see. Mitchell Robinson was at 9:30. Caruso is at 9:30. You got 2 of them out of there in 2 minutes. I would not be expecting either one of those guys to play today. Mitchell Robinson or Alex Caruso. Who else you got for me? If you tell me that you're going to roster VJ Edgecombe today, we need to talk. None of them are on the injury report. They both played yesterday. There is no injury report for the Knicks or the Thunder. Caleb, undetermined. Undetermined. There are teams where I don't care really what's happening for the rest of the day at 9 o'clock. Like, I can't ever talk about Memphis right now, especially on a day where they're playing. Like, these guys are an impossibility on a day-to-day basis. Second half of a back-to-back, and I don't think Ryan Rupert is under contract any longer. He played 25 minutes yesterday. I doubt we see Cedric Coward or Ty Jerome. There's just no way to know what we're doing for Memphis yet. Like, Javon Small can be anywhere from like 5 to 55% owned, and all of that makes sense. It's too hard. Because right now, I think they only have 9 guys. And one of those fuckers is Taj Gibson, which is even funnier. So, like, can Javon Small look like a great play today? Yeah, 100%. He already does based on what we know now. But I don't think that the minutes that I have in here are, like, perfect yet, because I don't think we know who the real Memphis Grizzlies roster is. If they do only have 9 guys today, this will probably flatten a bit, but like, do I think that Walter Clayton is 80 in 6 hours? No, but he's going to be like 40, 50, 60. The point still stands. Langston, I do not understand why you ask this question all the time, but the answer has been no for months and months and months. It's the same no that it's been every other time you asked. It's going to be no tomorrow if you ask again. It's just no, 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 no. Of course not. Why? How and why could they? They're not good. They're more likely to lose in the first round. They might not be one of the 15 best teams in the league. Caleb, I hope you're right. I will make a lot of money if that happens. By the way, if you haven't done it yet, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Schedule for the rest of today is going to look pretty similar to the schedule we typically have. That's going to be a 1:30 NHL strategy show. Make sure you're watching these guys. Man, it's never been a better time to catch an NHL show on the Stochastic channel. Now that we've got the sim tool for hockey, we got that out over the Olympic break. So we've got projections, ownership, sims for the NHL. We've got the NHL props tool as well. These guys are going to have you absolutely covered for tonight's slate. So please go check out the hockey show at 1:30. And then live before lock tonight, 6 to 7, myself and Eric Lindquist. And then you will get Greg Ehrenberg for live after lock from 7 to 8-ish. Whew. Who's guarding Dort? I don't know. Everybody? Whoever rotates on that particular possession? The worst defender on OKC that's on the floor, or the worst defender on the Knicks that's on the floor at that time? Yeah, I mean, DeWitt's probably more correct. Nobody? Caleb, I've got a few different, like, Celtics to win the East, Celtics to lose in the finals to OKC. I got them in, like, a couple different books and in a couple different premises. But, I mean, I did it in, like, mid-November, late November. As good of a line as you could possibly get before it became, like, a real problem. But it's in so many, I don't even remember where I have it any longer. Let me see if I can find it quick. I'm pretty sure Fanatics I have the future with the Celtics. No. I got Boston to win the East at 16 to 1 on Fanatics. On DraftKings, I have 40 to 1 Thunder to beat the Celtics. I've got 16 to 1 for the Celtics to win the East. And I think I have it on, like, FanDuel and somewhere else as well. But, like, somewhere in that 15 to 20 range on most of them, unless I attached OKC to it, then I get up into, like, the 40 to 1s. Do I still like OKC over Denver? Yes, the OKC is the only answer in the West. Not to say that they win the West, but I'm just saying, like, it's either OKC or you don't pick any, like, you're just like, somebody else does it. OKC won't even make it to Game 7 versus the Spurs. Why? Because the Spurs never make it to that series at all? That's my guess. We are going to learn quite quickly, as we do every single year, that the playoffs and the regular season are not the same thing. We forget it in March every year. Don't worry, I will be here to remind everybody how to be correct about this stuff. I don't know why I didn't click on playoff probabilities. So as of right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 95% to be the 1 seed. And San Antonio is 91% to be the 2 seed, which means that the only way that these guys play is in the Western Conference Finals. And it is way more likely that the Spurs get dumped in one of those first 2 rounds and never even see OKC. Especially if Denver ends up as the 3. If Denver ends up as the 3, the Denver-San Antonio series is going to be a fucking bloodbath. And then OKC is going to like crip walk through somebody. Like if they're lucky and get the Rockets, the Thunder will come into that Western Conference Finals right as rain. Seeding is going to be massive. How that breaks will be huge. But if San Antonio is... Like, basically right now, it's impossible for Oklahoma City and the Spurs to play each other before the finals. And I just don't expect the Spurs to be there. Obviously, they can be. I do think they're the second best regular season team here. But it is really, really difficult to go to the playoffs for the first time with a sketchy offense and a coach with no experience, and have that be a run. We have seen this for years and years and years. San Antonio is going to get into the playoffs this year. They're going to have a lot of growing pains because this is going to be the first time that anybody's ever had time to game plan these dudes over and over and over again. And they're going to eat shit in like the first or second round. It's a tale as old as time. It's not an indictment to the Spurs. They're just early. But that will help them moving forward. Do I ever take blowouts into account for DFS? No. Jose, I agree. Memphis is a gigantic pain in the dick. Wolves Western Conference Finals, 3 in a row incoming. I don't think that's a crazy take at all. Like, I 1,000,000% like Minnesota in the playoffs more than I like San Antonio. Like, there'll be games where San Antonio looks exceptional in the playoffs. There's also going to be games where their offense is nothing. Just zilch. Zero creation. Nothing can happen. Same thing's going to happen to Houston. But if seeding breaks the right way, you never know who can just slip through it all. But yeah, it's hard to say anything other than OKC. To me, it's a conversation of OKC or the field. Those are your only choices in the West. If you pick an individual team, I think you're crazy. Who do I like in the East? Boston. Yeah. Boston or the Knicks. I don't really like the East in general. I do think Orlando, if they are healthy when they enter the playoffs, are going to be a huge problem for people, and they're not going to want it. Don't be surprised. Like, Orlando could get dumped in the first round or make the Eastern Conference Finals, and I believe either one of those scenarios. but they are going to be a real problem in the East. And honestly, depending on who they play, will impact everything. But I'm fascinated by Orlando when they get to the playoffs. That's not going to be a good time for anybody in the East. Like, if Orlando's the 8 seed, I expect them to beat the Pistons. I'll put that out there right now. Right now, they're projected to likely be the 7, but they could be sort of anywhere. If they play the Pistons in the first round, Orlando is going to beat the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs. Which will be fun to talk about if I'm right. Mark it down, March 4th, if we get that series. Even with the defense that the Pistons have. That implies that the defense for the Magic isn't very good. And I'm going to say another real controversial thing that nobody's going to like here. In that hypothetical series, I like Paolo Banchero more than I like Cade. Paolo Banchero is made for the playoffs. He's not made for the regular season. Detroit plays bully ball. Are we going to pretend like that's not what we've seen Orlando do in the past 2 playoff runs? Is that what we're doing? Because that seems silly. All right, let's close this out. Let's talk a little bit more about the slate. This one is going to be the FanDuel side for what we have right now. It's going to be Walter Clayton, Cam Spencer, Mashak, Small on the FanDuel side. We're going to be getting a chunk of Memphis. Again, no matter what here, we're going to get a lot of Memphis. We just don't officially know who they are yet. Can Orlando beat the Tatumless Celtics? Well, they won't have to because Tatum will be on the team. The Toronto Raptors have a 0% chance of winning anything, Einsteinium. That's the equivalent of rostering Mitchell Robinson and... who's the other one? Whoever the other one was that isn't. Caruso. The Raptors are those guys today. FanDuel is the same situation for payups, by the way. It's Tyrese Maxey. It's SGA. SGA looking a little bit more popular on the FanDuel side than he is on the DraftKings side. Jaylen Brown, honestly, like a little bit less, relatively speaking. That's weird. I don't like Shea as much on FanDuel as the data shows, but like the guys that are popping are pretty much the same, including a coin flip center option in Donovan Clingan. Brandon, if the refs let Detroit be physical, I like them, but it's a good series. Dude, no one is going to watch a Denver Orlando. That series is going to be on NBA TV or Tubi or something shitty. I would want to watch every second of an Orlando Detroit series. And that will be like literally unwatched basketball in a playoff series. I like whoever comes out less owned of SGA and Maxey. If you mean on FanDuel, then yeah, that's a conversation. If it's DraftKings, then it's just the answer is Maxey. I mean, it's the same answer on either side. Maxey's going to be massively more owned than Shea. DraftKings, FanDuel, doesn't matter, won't change. So you like SGA then. Put that series in a bubble and let me know the ending. No, you should want to watch it, man. It's going to be so good. Because Orlando's weird. If Orlando plays in the playoffs the way that I think they can, then they might run it back next year. If they get dumped like they have, then they're going to have a different coach and potentially a different starting 5. It'd be interesting to see what Orlando does, but I'm a Magic believer. I'd like the Magic to have a healthy Franz. Yeah, I mean, like, the only way that I like what I'm saying is if they're running out Suggs, Black, Franz, Paolo, Wendell Carter Jr. Or Suggs and Bane. Like those 6 dudes in massive minutes. They got lucky in Anthony Black, man. They found another real dude that can be out there. Realistically, they like desperately need Jonathan Isaac to be 6 years ago, Jonathan Isaac. Folks, I think we are going to wrap it up here. A reminder, the links are in the description. Whatever you're looking for, if it's DFS and The Sims, you can get a discount by clicking the link in the description. NBA, NHL, baseball's going to be here in a couple weeks. MMA, we've got a pay-per-view this week. Arnold Palmer this week. Golf is great. We got all of that stuff. Maybe you want it on the props side. Stochastic props for NBA. Stochastic props for NHL. You can get those by clicking the link in the description. And maybe you want to go to Odds Shopper. You want to search for high positive EV bets, parlay builders, odds boost calculators, live odds screen with the lowest latency that I've seen, ARB calculators. We got a giant set of ARBs for you if you want to try to pick them off across sports books, your Kalshis, your poly markets, whatever angle you're looking for, we've got it covered. And then we cover every angle at Tails. And you can click the link to get Tails in the description, totally free. Follow me, follow Greg, follow Eric, follow one of 100+ people that are on Tails. Costs you absolutely nothing. You're just going to see the content. If you want to pay for a paid package for one of these users, you can. You're just not required. You'll see everything that's free, no matter what. That's where we stand for today. Light slate. I was hoping we got 6 games and we could really go crazy. For 4, with all these back-to-back stuff, we could hit on the high-level stuff. We got a much better slate tomorrow and Friday, and I'm excited to break that down. But I will see you guys tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, live before lock. Have fun today, everybody.